I mean, you saw the picture of the hair standing up. I mean, that's pretty.
And I'm cold a lot, but I didn't have goosebumps. Normally, I'm like covered in goosebumps, but I didn't have goosebumps. My hair was standing straight up.
So upstairs, you did catch an EVP. You told me about it before, and I forgot though. We did the SB7 upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
We did.
But explain that again, what you told me. And I remember you told me before, but we got to get that on there.
We were upstairs, and the upstairs is like a big room. You have the kitchen area, and it's broken into the dining area.
I don't know if I had pictures of it.
And
I don't think I did.
I asked, can you tell us your name? And we got no. And then I go, Richard, because Richard was the little henchman
Of
Rosa, who used to take pleasure in torturing the children, the orphans there. And he was affectionately nicknamed Stick Boy. Well, I asked, Richard, are you here? And it came out, I am Richard.
That was on SB7? Or
Yes.
Okay, SB7. We were getting, I know Andrew was down. I got to go back and look at that video. That's kind of like where I stopped. But Andrew was down on the opposite end of the unit.
Right in the kitchen.
My
part.
stuff was like in the center. Laura and Mom was sitting up on the, and you were up sitting up too.
Right.
And we were getting that weird. It would like come to my K2 and function, and Andrew's, and it was moving.
Yes.
Whatever it was.
Yes.
And I do believe that I have that on video, but I haven't pulled all that up yet. And because I was panning the room with the video camera at the time. But that was kind of interesting upstairs. So we're getting ready to leave because we had to go across the street, down a little bit to Jenny Wade's house to do a thing. And of course, we had to get the field camera again down in the basement. Marian's like, no, I'm not going by myself. So Mike
I said I would, but Mike said he would come and protect me.
And Mike just made a comment out on a break, which was kind of interesting. I wanted you to share with everybody about that basement. So,
well, when we went down to the basement, Marianne was getting the camera, and she was telling anyone that was there that this was their final chance to say something if they wanted to, or get their picture taken if they wanted to. And that basement had a completely different feel. It had a darker type of a feel to it from when we were down there earlier with the group, when it was just Marianne and I down there. It was really creepy. It was, to me anyway, it seemed like a completely different place. Like when we left and went upstairs, and there was just something dark just lurking around.
So we wrapped up and did our prayer out there on the steps of the orphanage, and that was really kind of like a mind-blowing experience. I mean, we've been a lot of places and a lot of really strange things have happened, but that was like 2 hours of just nonstop work.
I've gone all around like Hillview Manor by myself in the dark at night, putting stuff out for our events, and I never ran back.
Yeah.
And so I'm out of here. That
I'm
basement,
done.
Though, I'm telling you, with the orphanage, I was done with the basement.
I don't know what it was. I don't know if it, if it was that EMF wave or whatever, but, I think Mike picked this place as being the most active there in the beginning, but, what were your guys' thoughts about the orphanage? It was
extremely active, and
it was like a lot of intense stuff
in a very short amount of time.
Yes.
Because we were only there for 2 hours. And normally when we go places, we're in these places for 8, 9, 10 hours.
Able to take a break.
And maybe we'll get one or two things. We were there for 2 hours, and we had a lot of experiences.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So would you go back?
I've already been back, and I'll go back again. I want to
yeah.
go. I want to try to face my fears again. Try to go in the basement again by myself.
Well, we're
Leave
going
me down
back
in
for
the basement.
we're going back for Sachs
I don't know
Bridge.
about leave me, but I
Go
want
back
to.
for sex.
I want to try. I want to try next time we go to pee down there for a minute by myself, like
A minute by yourself.
a full minute all by myself. That's my challenge to myself. If I make it past the minute, I'm good. Now, if that thing in the
If you
corner,
make it past a minute, you probably do too.
probably.
Yeah.
If that thing in the corner stays quiet, I'll be
Now,
all
the
right.
thing is, if you go to an orphanage yourself, okay, or your group or whatever, you go to an orphanage, you got to remember there's people who live in that building.
Yes, the
Okay,
second and third floor.
And we were reminded of that while we were down there, especially while we were listening to this recording. You hear
Yes.
toilets being flushed, you could hear cell phones above you buzzing, and people walking, whatever the freak that was, running up and down the thing. I think it was a
Which
cat
when we
or
were there,
something.
it sounded like there was an animal running back and
Yeah.
forth on the second floor. And we asked Kendra, we're like, do they have like pets? And she said, no, they don't have pets. They have they have a 13-year-old
They have
boy.
teenagers.
And I'm like,
It was
Yeah,
something faster
no,
than a 13.
no, that's not it.
It was flying.
but there are people who live there, and you do have to take that into account as
Yeah,
well.
but okay. So, anyways, we said the prayer out on the steps and made our way down to Jenny Wade House, which to me, this is my personal opinion, was complete opposite turnaround from what we
Absolutely.
experienced down in that basement.
I agree.
And you would think that they would both be, hand in hand. Tell them about the house, not Jenny Wade, but tell them about the house.
What about the house? That it was a duplex?
Well, they call it the Jenny Wade House.
Okay. It is not the Jenny Wade house. Jenny Wade was never even a resident of that house. Her sister lived there. Her sister, her husband, they had moved into the one side of the duplex, and the McLeans were on the other side. And they shared the building. They had two separate entrances, two separate exits. Like any duplex, you had complete separation, even in the basement.
Now, for those of you who are, I don't know if I should bring up the name of these other ghost shows. Who cares, right? If you're a Ghost Adventures fan and you've seen the episode with Zach in the basement and he got his butt grabbed, this is the house we're talking about. Okay, that's the Jenny Wade house. They call it the Jenny Wade. Actually, it's called the Jenny Wade House and Museum because that's where she was killed.
Right.
So
But
here's a
she was
picture
not-
of the house.
But she didn't live there. It
No.
was actually her sister's place.
And her sister actually on June 26th
Mhm.
gave birth to little baby Lewis.
Yes.
And we investigated on June 26th. So the first thing that we did, and this is the room where Carolyn, is that her name?
Georgia.
Georgia gave birth.
This is the room where Georgia gave birth to the little baby Lewis. We actually, before we got started, we all sat around there and sang happy birthday to little baby Lewis.
We did.
On his birthday. That was kind of cool. I want to make a video of that and get that posted. I haven't had time to do that yet, but that was pretty neat. And right there where I'm sitting, I took that picture, but probably about 2.5, maybe 3 feet from there is where Jenny Wade actually passed away.
Yes, to your left of this view, about 3 feet to the left.
So why don't you go ahead and share the story of Jenny Wade a little bit?
Okay, so Jenny Wade was actually not her name.
Actually, right there, when this picture comes up, right there where Mary Ann's sitting is where Jenny Wade passed away. So.
Yeah, she fell to the floor there. Facing the other direction, of course. I was facing the door. She was kneading bread at the time, so she was using that dough board behind me. But Jenny Wade was not actually her name at all. It was actually Mary Virginia Wade. And her mother's name was Mary as well. So that's, I'm assuming that's why they called her Ginny. And someone got it wrong in the newspaper. And so now everybody calls her Jenny instead of Ginny. But she was left at home to watch her younger brothers and the ward that they took care of while her mother went down to help her sister and this newborn baby, because her husband's off at war, so she needs some help. Well, at some point throughout the time, she is going to go to George's house for safety. The Confederates are knocking at her back door, basically, and it's safer to go towards the Union soldiers. So her sister's house is a couple blocks closer, and so she's going to go there. She does have a fiance, supposedly, but at least an acquaintance, boyfriend type acquaintance, Johnston Jack Skelly. He is off at war.
Well, they were childhood friends.
And her and another boy named Wesley Culp, they were childhood friends. They hung out together. They played together. They went to school together. Johnston is off fighting for the Union. Her other friend, Wesley, is fighting for the Confederacy. He's fighting for the Confederacy because he actually moved down south for his job and ended up becoming part of the local militia, and they were called into battle, and you went. And so his friend was wounded in the battle. He finds him, and he's like, oh my gosh, Johnston, how are you, what can I do for you? And basically he says, get this letter to Ginny. And so he entrusts Wesley to take this letter to Jenny, and none of them will actually live. Wesley Culp dies on his uncle's property at the Battle of Culp's Hill. Johnston dies in a military hospital down in a field hospital, and Jenny is going to die in her sister Georgia's house during the Battle of Gettysburg. So none of them ever know that the others die. It's just a sad story, if you ask me. I don't know.
Well, the morning that Jenny passed away, she was actually in the kitchen with her mother baking bread for the Union soldiers that were behind her house, basically. And she made a comment that if anybody was in the house was going to die that day, she'd hope it'd be her, because her sister just had a little baby. And at 8:30, is it 8 or 8:30?
It's
controversial.
Controversial whether it's 8 or 8:30. Original record said that it was 8:30. New information has come to light in the last couple years where it may have actually been 8 o'clock.
Which the time is somewhat important. From a little tidbit that we found out is normally that early in the morning there's not much fighting going on. Okay. The only thing that would be going on would be sharpshooters would be taking target practice and sighting in their guns. Okay. Now it's believed because they haven't proved it just yet or whatever, that a Confederate soldier, I heard before that they were trying to sight up the gun on the door handle of the house.
See how close they can get.
Yeah, see how close they get to it. They fired a shot from the Farnsworth house, the attic, towards the house where Jenny was, and she thought she just opened both doors to kind of protect herself from sharpshooters.
So the two doors he's talking about are the front door.
Yeah. And
right there.
And the door going into the front room.
To where Georgia and the baby were.
Right. So shot was fired, went through both doors, hit Jenny in the back, and pretty much instantly killed her. And she was the only civilian that was killed during the Battle of Gettysburg. So that is the original door, and that's the original bullet hole that went through that door. There's a little legend about that bullet hole. Is it that one or the second?
Well, it's the second one. But this one here also that you were seeing as well, it's kind of getting a little bit bigger with age because people put their fingers in it to see. But the one that's the interior door that was literally the last thing that the bullet went through before it went into Jenny, there is a legend that if you are unmarried, if you put your ring finger in that hole, you will get married. I don't know if it's within the year, but you're definitely going to get married soon. And they've had people who've done it, and they've sent letters that with their wedding pictures. Yeah, it worked. It happened, you know. But there is that legend, and the theory behind it is that Jenny didn't get to experience her wedding and have her life, you know, a nice, happy life. She is helping others to get that happiness. So
terrible legend.
Yeah.
Not all legends can be great, but
so during our investigation there at the Jenny Wade house, we didn't get much of anything. We did have a little bit of flashlight play in the kitchen there.
It wasn't extremely on command, though.
No,
and that bothers me.
It was a little off.
Yeah.
But it did seem rather quiet.
Yeah, calm down. And,
yeah.
You know, like I mentioned before about Sachs Bridge, I'm not a sensitive or whatever, but if you go, you get that feeling like there's just something going on, or somebody's watching you, or something. And there was really just nothing there. In fact, the investigation started in the front room, went to the kitchen, then went upstairs,
and then we went,
and then went down in the basement. And after the kitchen, I'm like, I'll be outside. You know, I didn't. You guys didn't get anything upstairs at all?
Nope. And then when we went in the basement, we didn't get anything either.
No.
You know?
And actually, we were warned. I forgot about this. In the front room, after we sang Happy Birthday, we were actually kind of warned about the basement, about Mr. Wade coming around. He don't like guys. Okay, and that's supposedly the one that attacked Zach and everything. So my wife over there, she has to stir the pot and ask the question during the EVP session about.
I wanted to know.
Yeah,
inquiring minds want to know. All right, so I was telling you the story about Jenny and how she was, you know, supposed to be watching her little brothers, and you know, well, her youngest brother was conceived and born while her father was away in an institution.
Yeah. So
who is the daddy?
Who the baby daddy is.
I did. So I asked the mother. She was
Take off
supposedly
Mr.
there.
Wade down in the basement for the men folk to come down and get tortured.
I wanted to know.
You talk about a long period of consumption.
Yeah.
I mean, 3 years.
So Mr. Wade, actually, he was arrested for over a matter of $300.
Which he found in the street, and he just
found in the
didn't
street.
return.
Instead of giving it to somebody, he decided he's just going to go spend it and have a good time. So they arrested him, sent him away for 3 years, 2-3 years to Eastern State
2
Penitentiary.
years, Eastern State.
Yeah.
Solitary confinement.
Made him go nuts when he came back. Old Mama, Mrs. Wade, had him committed.
Yes.
So
and while
he wasn't there during the battle.
And while he was committed, she conceived Jenny's little brother.
So it's believed that he haunts Jenny Wade's house over, I forget the word that Kendall, whatever used, but because he wasn't there to help protect the family.
Yeah, it was the last place that
Shane.
His two daughters were together.
Over Shane, that's why he's there haunting. So,
but he didn't really do anything that night at all. He left you alone.
Yeah, he did.
He didn't talk to me.
I was all surprised. He said that, you know, I was really expecting him to come over and introduce himself and say hello and maybe tickle my ear or something like that.
We don't know why it was so quiet there. I mean, was it because it was the birth date and they were off celebrating?
And see, I thought it was going to be opposite that. I really thought it was going to be pretty active because it was the birthday.
Yeah.
We've heard that one of the claims for that house is that, you know, Georgia and the baby can be heard and seen on anniversaries.
Yeah.
This was an anniversary. It was the baby's birthday. So I really expected to see.
I would like to go back there.
Something.
We've been there before on a tour. Now we've investigated it, but I would like to go back maybe on a different date just to see now we know that 26 was the birth date. Just to see to kind of compare that theory, whether it was the date or not. But I don't know. We'll put it on the bucket list.
And I'd like to do that one first, and then go, because we did Jenny Wade and the orphanage on the same day. And I'd like to flip them, because last time we went, we did the orphanage and then Jenny Wade also, and we didn't get a lot of activity then either. So maybe they're more active earlier in the evening.
Right.
Could be.
So I want to try that too.
So what are you guys' thoughts?
They might have been sleeping.
Sleeping?
Is
Yeah.
that your thoughts? They were sleeping?
Yeah, it must have been.
I don't know. They were just calm.
It was calm. I mean, but anyone who investigates paranormal, for being honest about it, they realize that, you know what, you just don't get something every time out of the box. Sometimes, you can go there one day and it can just be off the hook crazy.
We could go back to the orphanage and be dead.
Sure.
Absolutely.
I use that word dead again.
Yeah.
Non-active.
Non-active.
I think they get the idea.
They get it? All right.
But, yeah,
Sorry, just trying to.
That's just the way it seems. I mean.
Okay. All right, so the following day we went to Devil's Den. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we traveled out to a location out on a battlefield the following day, Devil's Den, and this is another one of the claimed most active places in Gettysburg. And
they
did you have your recorder going at Devil's Den?
Mm-hmm. I have it going all the time.
Yeah, it's just nonstop.
Why do you ask such stupid questions?
How do you is it just how do you not run out of batteries? Oh, you do?
We do. That's why we carry an Econo case of batteries with us, yes.
Okay, well, Devil's Den is actually a cool place to go. I mean, you gotta stop there. So we stopped, and of course, Marianne did one of her patented timed pictures with Devil's Den there in the background. Kind of looks like that big rock's gonna fall on us there.
Hey, I like those timed things. They're fun. And you guys got some good shots of me running back towards you, too.
Yeah, but I don't have them here. Then we climbed up on top. That's shooting down below. Okay, now this is up behind Devil's Den, which is kind of a interesting spot. And if you don't know anything about these locations, okay, another area out in the battlefield was Devil's Den and Little Round Top. Okay, so the Confederates were trying to take Little Round Top. They were down in Devil's Den, and that's the snipers post there for the Confederates. And if they could have took that, it would have changed that was the southern end of the Union flank. And there's several battles between Devil's Den and Little Round Top is called the Slaughter Pit, where Slaughter Pen, where several individuals lost their lives there. And but Devil's Den, the day we were there, was just packed. There was Boy Scouts there, there was Rangers there was other people climbing up on the rocks and doing all kinds of stuff. So there's a photograph. Actually, it's on I think this is it here. It's on one of their placards. Is it there? Mm-hmm. It talks about the Slaughter Pen.
It sure does.
But there's a famous photograph. This should be it coming up here. Okay. And that's right where Mike was standing behind that little rock barricade there. You want to tell them about this photograph? We have a blog post about this too. There's a link to the blog post. You want to tell them about that photo? You did the research on that blog post. So.
I did do some research.
There's a little controversy about that picture.
Yes. See that dead guy? That wasn't his only death location.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, he was moved around there a couple times.
Brian
Yes.
Williams was there.
Oh, stop it. One of the photographers who came into town took some photographs, and he took a little bit of creative license, should we say, and he found a better location for the dead guy to move him to. I don't know who that particular soldier was, but for some reason he wasn't quite as ripe, bloated, and distorted as some of the others who were lying dead on the battlefield. And so they said, let's pick him.
Yeah.
And so they
So
picked
they
him up and
staged
they
the
moved
photo.
him to a new location. And the one that is the most famous is actually the staged location.
Yeah.
So
that's actually a staged
yes,
photo. Of
Yes.
course, we had to take our picture
of course we
there.
did.
We didn't lay down because we had our crispy new Dark Shadow Ghost Tour shirts on. We didn't want to get dirty.
Yes,
Mary Ann says she wants to go back and actually.
I do.
in
I want to lay
position.
there. I'm
So-
creepy. I know.
From Devil's Den, we traveled up the little mountain
Little
there
round top.
to Little Round Top. These pictures are not changing. There we go. There's our group there. I like that picture. I don't know why. You got the kids in the back photo bombing. And this is up one of the monuments you can actually climb up in, and
It's like a castle.
yeah, you can actually overlook. There in the distance is actually Devil's Den. Then we had paparazzi that was there.
Hiding in the trees.
Hiding in the trees. That's Laura. She's popping off pictures. And there's another shot of Devil's Den from up on top. So that's where the Confederates were, and they were coming up that hill. And Union soldiers were just picking them off left and right.
Oh yeah, because they had the best. They had the best sharpshooters. They had the good ones.
Yeah, and that's the history here. I tell you what, we were up on a Little Round Top, and those people aren't watching this, so I could talk about them. It's sad the history that these kids are learning nowadays, but yeah. Anyways, they were saying the bad people were below and the good people were up top, and
Yeah,
we were just listening to them, just shaking our heads. And
yeah. It wasn't the Union and the Confederates
yeah,
and the
it was the good and
soldiers.
the bad, and
It was the good guys were up here and the bad guys were down there, and the good guys had all the best shooters. They were shooting people that were going by this house that was probably
20
10 miles out there as the crow flies.
And don't forget all those rocks. Somebody just brought those there.
Oh yeah. Somebody just brought the rocks and dumped them
Devil's
off.
Den rocks. Somebody
That's
just
a
dropped
dad
them.
actually said that to his son when he asked him a question. But anyways, here's a little rock formation that Mike was down there, and he was yelling Wilma from Fred Flintstone. Everyone's kind of like looking at him like, okay,
Like, are you serious?
who are these people? So Devil's Den, we really didn't get much there except for that photo. That was kind of cool. Little Round Top. Were you recording up there? Of course he was. Why do I keep asking?
I don't know why you keep asking.
I know. And that leads us to when we went. How many days later did we go to the railroad cut? Because that wasn't the same day.
Yeah, well, because it was
it the same day?
it was that Friday because we left here.
No, because we have different shirts on.
Mm-hmm.
See?
Yeah, we went there.
So
2 days
Saturday
later.
it rained?
Saturday it rained. And
Saturday
then
was
Sunday we went there.
the typhoon rain. The guys stayed at the farmhouse, and my man Mike here smoked this ham. I tell you what, it was awesome. While the girls were out shopping and getting drenched, we just stayed at the farmhouse and cooked that ham all day and chilled out.
Shopping.
Yeah. They were out getting their shopping on out in the
That's right.
torrential downpour. That was Saturday. Sunday, this was Sunday. All right, so we're bringing you to Sunday. Skipped a couple days. Sunday, I wanted to go up to the railroad cut, which is another famous paranormal location where there's supposed to be a lot of activity up there. That's just north of well, everywhere was the battlefield, but anywhere, it's just north of Lee's headquarters. And this is basically where it all started, up in this area. And there is a section they call the railroad cut. There's a bridge that goes over it. And historically, what had happened was the Confederates retreated. They went down in this railroad cut. And I think the railroad was not there yet. It was just dug out. So they went down in there thinking that they would have the element of surprise and protection, and they couldn't get back out of it. And they were basically stuck and
fish in the barrel.
Yeah, fish in the barrel. So there's a lot of paranormal activity reported there. So we went down to do an investigation. We also went to I don't know if I have pictures of it, but there is a video on our YouTube channel of photos from all this. We went to the Internal Peace Memorial, which is just north of that.
Internal Light Peace
And yeah, that was actually kind of cool too. But so here we are. We're heading towards the railroad cut.
Is that the Eternal
Peace Light Memorial is actually
behind us? Is behind that picture.
Yep.
And we're heading towards the railroad cut.
So one of these pictures are not switching. Oh, there it goes. Okay. So this is, we went down under the bridge, and you could see how that goes down in there. And we went down to do an EVP session. Now, when we start off an EVP session, we kind of go around and say our names, where we're at, the date, that kind of thing, because that tags the recordings. And it also gives a sample of what our voice sounds like on that recording in that area. Now, when we started that EVP session there, we went around and you listen, and I got it on both of our recordings. Is it on yours too, with your voice being? When Mike said his name, it was like weird. It was like real high pitched. Yeah. My name is Mike. You know, it's like, really, what? You know, and I know you didn't do it when we were there, but all the recordings caught that and kind of messed it up. And then we had little Mikey with us, and he said, I am Michael.
And, you know, this is Andrew's son, you know, and he, you know, he's feeling his way through all this, you know.
Yeah, he's like a junior cadet paranormal investigator. He's coming along.
Whenever it was brought up, you know, and whenever it was his turn, he said, "Hi, my name's Mike."
But you caught something. We don't have that out there yet. Yeah. You caught something out there.
And after he said that, I got a really low whispered voice that says, "Michael." So that was pretty cool. I need to isolate that and share it over.
Get that out there. But so, and then of course Mike and I, we were, you know, we had to sing Dixie.
Yes, we did. We sang Dixie.
And then you can see a little bit more of the railroad cut, but there it goes. It just switched. Okay. I want to show you the other end of the railroad cut. There it is. So that's the gully or, well, railroad cut where they went down in. Union came up on them, and basically that was it.
I mean, you know, it's hard to believe. I mean, when we were there, yeah, naturally there's a nice new bridge over the top. That bridge wasn't there during the battle.
No.
It was just a big gully, you know, that was cut into the ground to make way for the railroad tracks. And, you know, those guys during a retreat, when they backed up into there, that was it. You know, they were just easy targets.
Yeah, I don't know why anybody would ever think that going down, so that you have people who could come up over the top of you and shoot you would be a good choice. But they did that a lot in Gettysburg.
Yeah. Yes.
Same thing over there at Little Round Top. Let's stay down below.
So when we come back up on the bridge, we saw off in the distance by Seminary Ridge, we saw a reenactment going on. Of course, they had to do a double take. It was like, oh, really? Is that a whole regiment? And we're seeing apparitions. And then we saw some guy come out in shorts. We knew.
Yeah, the cannons and the rifles.
Yeah. So there was and then we saw like there was an encampment up there. And we decided, hey, let's go check that out. And we went up there. We had to wait a little bit. We had some fun and
Of course we did.
About after an hour and a half or so like that, they actually did a battle reenactment. And that's where some of the pictures like we used for some of the marketing, those are pictures that we took from that reenactment. You know, the Confederates coming in, firing their guns. And
yeah, they were kind of
actually
practicing because remember, July 1, 2, 3 is the anniversary. And so they always have a reenactment week. And some of the reenacting soldiers were there already, and they were doing their practicing. They ended up canceling it this year and postponing it until August. So we got to see this.
There were still people there.
There's still people there, but the major reenactments, they canceled them. There's obviously people that were still going to go there and be dressed up and so forth and do their little things. But the big battle reenactments, they canceled them until August because the weather had been so wet and rainy all season, and they were worried about whether or not the horses and everything could really.
And out there, it rains every other day.
Every other day for the whole month is pretty much how it rained there. So we got to see some of those reenactments in their practice mode, and I thought it went pretty neat.
Marianne even got to dig a bullet out of a leg at that Confederate field doctors.
Yes, I did. That's right.
Boy,
that picture, she's got this big smile on her face.
Oh yeah, what a happy individual, to shove a set of forceps into a gaping wound in a leg and yank a chunk of lead out.
All right, so that oh my God, I sleep next to her.
Oh. Well, at least you'll have the Benadryl queen.
Michael.
That had to come up.
Okay, moving on.
All right, so
moving on.
Here's what we're going to do. We're going to take our last break of the evening. So if you have questions, please ask us your questions.
Yeah, because I've already answered most of the questions that have come up in the show. So I only have one left.
Okay. So we're going to come back and we're going to talk about the farmhouse and just a little bit about the farmhouse broadcast, because we have a whole nother video already out there that you can actually go and actually take part in the ghost hunt. You could still go there and watch that, and if you see anything on the cameras, you comment and we can go check it out and all that stuff.
Yep.
But we did catch a little bit at the farmhouse. Now I'll tell you more when we come back.
Yeah.
But so if you have questions, please leave them below. We need that to finish up. And we will be back shortly.
My wife Lee is manning the comments over here. She's the one that's off camera. She's actually
looking for something right now to chuck at him.
She's getting bored over there. You guys
little
gotta
does
write
she
her
know
some
we
questions.
moved all hard objects away from that area because we knew that this could. She starts chucking Oreos,
Oh.
We could try to catch those.
So just between us, she needs to be busy.
Yeah.
So to get your entry in to win a free T-shirt, you need to sit there and blitz the phone, the computer line. And
you have to be on live to ask the question. So if you're watching this video after it's been edited, it's too late.
Right.
You already lost out. You weren't here
true.
for the live production.
So put her to work over there.
Absolutely. Hey, we'll be back in about 5 minutes. See you in a bit. Okay, guys, we're back, and this is going to be our wrap-up session. Last one. So if you've got questions, keep them coming there. Lee's over there typing away.
Yep.
So hopefully we're getting some questions.
She's talking her fingers off.
All right, so the last day that we were in Gettysburg, we decided beforehand that we were going to investigate the place where we stayed. Now, we have no history, no claims, nothing about the place, but we did know that it was close to Eastern Cavalry Cemetery. Battlefield. Eastern Cavalry Battlefield. And we did know that part of the fields were battlefield. Part of them in the back there were battlefield. So, you put two and two together, there had to have been soldiers where the house sits, even though it was built in the 1900s.
Right.
So we thought we're going to catch something maybe hopefully. We kept watching all of that back porch all the time, looking for something to walk out of that tree line.
I'm still waiting for my full-bodied apparition.
Yeah. So we broadcast live from the farmhouse that our virtual ghost hunt. It's actually out there. Was the second one we did. So it's listed out there. You can go watch it and take part in that still. We had a camera that was fixed in the dining room area where I showed you those pictures in the beginning was our command central. We had a camera that was in the barn. We had a camera that shot down like a road that went out into the field. And then we had a camera that was shooting at the tree line, but it got so dark. I don't know. You know, we tried to put additional lights out there. I don't know if you see much out there or not. And then we broke up into two separate teams, the guys and the girls, basically. And we investigated those areas except for the barn. The girls went in the barn and told us there were bats, so we didn't go in there.
There were a ton of bats in there, and they were very talkative. It was the whole time. It was crazy.
Yeah. So, you know, we had a good time with that, and I'm like, I don't think we need.
Yeah, I don't like basements. Andrea does not like bats.
Yeah. Did you guys go out on that path?
We did not. You guys did
so
the outside.
So we did the path. You guys did the barn.
Right.
Basically.
And we both did the
dining room.
Okay.
So we did a little bit of setup. You know, we had to put out all the cameras and everything. And, you know, we watch all the ghost shows on TV, and they always show them setting up. And we said, we've never shown you when we set up before.
We never showed you
just do it and get it done. And then we decided this time that we would do that. So we have a couple pictures to show you of us doing some setup work. So there's Mr. Sean setting up all the cameras.
Getting the cameras ready to go. And you can see there we're sitting on the back porch.
Of course.
Yeah.
That's a great porch.
It was a little damp out because this was the day after the monsoon hit.
It was the day after the monsoon.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is that roadway that went back. And Mike and I went out and did SB7 session out there.
Yes, we did.
And there's the girls that are running the video cables. And we had a lot of video cables. I don't know how many feet we used, but it was a lot.
Yeah, and it was a little, I felt it was a little chilly. So I put on my new spiffy ghost hunting pants that I got in town that says "Got Ghosts." Gettysburg does on the front. It says Gettysburg does, but I had to roll them up because I didn't want my new pants to get all dirty in the mud.
There's our little pictures, little trigger object we put there in the barn.
The bats did not play with the ball.
No. You guys didn't see the bats in there when you were running the cables?
Nope.
No.
We weren't looking up though.
Oh, okay.
You know, and they kind of tend to do high.
There's the camera that's shooting out the
tree line.
Tree line.
Over a cornfield.
You see there we had an additional flashlight there trying to give some more light out there. So that was our setup. And you could, like I said, you could go watch the investigation. We popped in and said what we found and things like that. We're still going over some of the evidence from the farmhouse, but Marianne did listen to the SB7, and you got a name, right, from our SB7. Did you listen to it yet?
Yes.
Did you get that same name? Who the commander was?
I think there might have been a first and a last name, but
I got
August.
First. Yeah, you guys asked the question, who is your commanding officer? And immediately the SB7 goes, August.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
And then there was some EVPs that you guys got in the dining room that are posted out there in our evidence review. We've got to finish going over that stuff.
And we got flashlight stuff going on in the dining room as well.
Did you video the flashlight?
We did not.
So, okay.
But it was, but the DVR was on, so theoretically it's on video.
So we need to match the DVR video up to the audio.
Right.
Sounds like a tech guy's job, right?
I think it sounds like a tech guy's job.
Oh
Probably.
So we investigated how long? About 4 or 5 hours? 4 hours. I don't remember how long that video is. I think it was about 4
It
hours.
was after our show, our radio show segment. We
it was a
went
busy
out,
day.
set up, and then we investigated till about 2 maybe.
We left, and I haven't shared it with these guys yet, but we actually took the field camera and the recorder up to the bedroom that we stayed in, and there's some. Yeah, we slept there.
We did.
See,
want to go back.
Stairs and messing with me when I'm sleeping. No. Anything else, whatever. But
you weren't sleeping there at the
no,
time,
I was
so they
asleep.
weren't
You're
messing
right.
with
I
you.
wasn't sleeping at the time.
They thought it was
we were
perfect
going
timing.
marathon nonstop, so when it was time to go to bed, I was out. Same story with the Queen Mary in Long Beach. We get out there to investigate. I'm out. Didn't experience anything. Anyways, what do you guys think about where we stayed?
I liked
From
the
a-
place.
From a paranormal.
From a paranormal, I was surprised that we got any responses because we didn't have any paranormal claims for the location. So I was excited that we got anything.
Yeah. I think that
Probably
it
nobody's
was
ever
good.
investigated it.
Right, and that's something also, now that you mention that, we were Andrea and I and Lee and Laura, we all went into the dining room area first. And Andrea was great. She immediately thought about the fact that nobody had probably ever investigated there. And so she explained how to use each of those items, and don't be afraid of them, and if you turn it this way it does this. She did a fantastic job of explaining how to use those items. And then when we came out, you guys were like, I wonder if they even knew how to use any of that stuff. And we're like,
you guys taught them.
we told you, we told them how to do it. And they're like, oh, you did? That's fantastic. So
Did we leave passwords?
we did leave passwords. We didn't get any
Okay.
response back from them.
We're not finished reviewing. That was the last day, so we're still going over that stuff. And, we might have to have a second show. It'll be shorter, but we find more stuff.
If we find more.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So then the sad moment came. It was sad.
It was sad.
The rest of the team had to head back, and Marion and I were
we were going to head off.
to Philadelphia, and because we wanted to go there, we didn't make it on our honeymoon. This was our anniversary trip, anyways. But of course, we decided. Well, my wife wanted a few things, and I said, "Okay, dear, it's your anniversary." First, she wanted to get a picture taken using an old vintage
I wanted
camera,
to do the wet plate photography,
which we did.
and Lee's going to
Actually-
hand that to me. I got my wet plate photo.
That's actually not film. That's actually on a. She says it's glass. I think it's tin.
tin glass. I'm trying to make it so that the shadow,
There's no
you
glare.
can see the actual picture. But we
We
went there.
posted that on our Facebook. page.
Victorian choice photography, old Victorian photography. Fantastic. Tish did a wonderful job. She's
Yeah.
great.
So we
Showed me
ended
how to
up
do it.
staying
Love it.
another night for the photo,
Yes,
and
yes, we did.
then she wanted to go to the Farnsworth house, so we
I
stayed
did.
at the Farnsworth house. We stayed there before, and she wanted to go in the attic and the basement. I was like, "Yes, dear, whatever you want to do." And
Remember,
then-
I said before I left, I had several things on my
Yeah,
list that I wanted
those
to
were on our
do.
list.
Gettysburg
So-
Address, Farnsworth House, picture.
So we did.
Mr. G's.
We went on a
Mr. G's. Yep,
tour of the basement and the attic and
we
the
did.
Grove, and you want to tell them about the Farnsworth house? Some stuff we found so far.
Sure. We stayed in 2 different rooms in the Farnsworth house this time. 2 years ago, we stayed in a different one. So we've now slept in 3 of their, I think, 13 rooms that they have in the building. And so this time we stayed in Eisenhower on the first night and then Lincoln on the second night. And they named their rooms, by the way, by people who were important in the wartime, or about people who like to frequent there, or people who died there, or people who own the house.
Which Farnsworth never owned the house.
They never. It was named after a general.
The Sweeneys.
Yep, the Sweeneys owned it during the war. Yes.
Paranormal claims. I know Farnsworth House is actually out there on Panic D, but they claim that they have 6 to 8 entities in that house. It's one of the most active locations. Ghost hunters have been there.
Mm-hmm.
But there's 2 little kids there, Jeffrey and what's the little girl's name?
Sissy.
Sissy. Jeffrey was killed right outside of the Farnsworth. Well, he was injured outside of the Farnsworth. He was playing chicken with some of the older boys, where they run out and
front of the carriages,
slap the horses, and he got ran over by a carriage, and they brought him in. He actually died in the house.
Yes.
The other girl, Sissy, Sassy, something like that.
Sissy, I believe it's Sissy.
She was a Sweeney girl. She
died of a respiratory infection.
Yeah, in the house. And then, of course, Farnsworth House was a building that was there, so it was a field hospital. So you got soldiers in there and everything, and it is believed that's where the shot came from that
killed
Jenny Wade. So we went up in the attic, and when we were up in the attic on one of the tours. It was just a tour. I don't know how many people were with us, maybe about 8.
8. I was going to say 8.
We're sitting there, guys talking, telling, stories, whatever, and the door just opened right up. And he goes, "Yep, that's probably Jeffrey coming to join us." I mean, and that door was
Jeremy.
The door was forced shut because there's people staying there, trying to cut down the noise, and it's just opened right up, which was kind of cool. But tell them about
I was going to say in the basement, it was the opposite. The door slammed shut.
Yeah.
Well, we were doing our investigation because we did one tour and then we did one investigation.
Well, while we were on tour in the basement, I'm sitting to the left of Mary Ann, and I'm sitting there, and it's just a tour. They're just telling me ghost stories. And I thought she was playing with my leg with her foot. And I'm like looking at her,
But about 10 minutes before that, I felt something touch the back of my leg too. Yeah. But I thought it was a bug.
So when the lady was done talking, I'm like,
"What
are you doing? What are you screwing with me?" She goes, "I didn't touch you." And that's one of the claims. Jeremy comes down there and plays with the back of people's legs. Legs,
but I wasn't wearing any pants. I was wearing shorts, so there were no there weren't any pants to play with. So what's left?
So they offer a ghost hunt. Of course, we had to do it.
Of course, we did.
But it's not like what we do when we go paranormal investigation. They actually show people how to do it. And there was Marianne and I and another couple.
Yes.
And they never been out doing the paranormal investigation at all.
Ever.
So the guy
sitting paranormal versions.
He's going through equipment. This is a K2 meter. These are divining rods and the digital recorder and all of this stuff. So he goes, "Here's a digital recorder."
We pulled ours out.
Here's a K2 meter.
I
got
it
one.
Out.
So we're going through all this stuff, and then we said, we're paranormal investigators. Do you mind if we tag this like we normally do an EVP session? And the guy goes, "Sure, go ahead, whatever." So we kind of took over.
Yeah, he just kind of sat in the corner then.
And we go around the room, and we tag it and start the EVP session. Mary Ann goes in the back with the flashlight. You want to tell them what happened?
Well, I started asking questions, and I set them all light up. I sat it on the bench. There's an entity back there named Michael, who's a soldier who's supposed to hang out back there. He's not supposed to be very friendly though, but if it was Michael, he was awfully friendly because he was answering all my questions. But I asked, if I told him I was a school teacher because that's a trigger object for some of these entities, supposedly school teachers and nurses. So I told him I was a school teacher and I teach science. Did you ever take a science class? And the light went on.
She's back there carrying on a conversation with this entity with the flashlight, and I'm just like, okay, whatever, we're used to it. The girl that was she was freaking out.
Yes.
And it was like, really? And Mary's just going on, "Okay, can you shut it off?" It goes off. She goes, "No way." It's like, and then it started raining.
Yes.
And we're down there, we're just doing our thing, and the door slammed shut. Bam! And I thought that girl was going to have a stroke.
I did too.
Like, "I'm done."
Yeah, she was. She said she was done.
And I'm like, "Okay, well, can we just finish?"
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah, so you know, it was a good time. We haven't gone over everything yet, but when we do, we'll get that out there.
But we stayed there 2 nights.
Yes. Okay.
I have 2 stories, real quick. We stayed there 2 nights, 2 different rooms. The first night we stayed in the Eisenhower room, and one of the claims is that you're sleeping and something holds you down, you can't get up, or you hear the door open, footsteps come in, somebody sits down in bed with you, lays down, and you think it's your spouse, but it wasn't really them. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm laying down, I'm sleeping, and I wake up, and I feel pressure on my upper chest, and I'm like, yes, this is it, because I really want the experiences. So I'm like, yes, and I went to tell my husband, and I woke up. So I was dreaming that I was having a paranormal experience.
Glad she didn't wake me up.
I was like, because I was laying there in my sleep state, being pressed down, and I'm like, ooh, I got to wake up my husband. So I couldn't move here. So I went to move down a little further, like with my leg, and I tried to do that, and I woke myself up, and so my paranormal experience was for naught. I dreamt it. I was so disappointed. I just rolled back over and went back to sleep. And then the next morning, I told him, I'm like, I dreamt of a paranormal. So anyways,
she dreamt she had sleep paralysis.
I did. So then the second night we stayed in the Lincoln room, and I decided.
By the way, the bed was this high.
It wasn't that high, but it did come to here. There's a picture of me standing next to the bed, and the bed comes to here on me. But we slept there. I left trigger objects out that night. Nothing happened. I put some quarters out, laid them out, because a claim in that room is that they'll stack them back up. So I laid those out. Nothing happened. But anyhow, I decided that next morning I did. I'm like exhausted. Into this. I'm into testing things. I want to see the results. So I left a recorder running then when we went to breakfast that next morning. So I set it on the nightstand. We left. You hear the door close, and like 30 seconds later, you hear something like going over the microphone, like when like something like brushed up against it or something. And it happened a few times on that. And then there's a spot
where I slept.
Yeah, but but you weren't sleeping then. We weren't even in the room at that point, so that's kind of interesting.
The only claims that we heard about the Lincoln room is sometimes while you're laying there, you'll just see soldiers walking right through you.
Yeah, because that was the garden area at the time. So yeah, and
you do have a debunk report from the Farnsworth.
There is a debunk report for the Farnsworth up in the attic. You are supposedly, they say, approximately once a year. I don't know when this once a year is, but approximately once a year, you're supposed to be able to go in to the attic, take a picture out the window where supposedly the shot was fired to kill Jenny Wade. And in that window, you're supposed to see a soldier. Now, this is in the attic, so that's 1, 2, 3rd floor up. But you see a soldier at normal level. And I asked the guy who told me about it, one of the guys, I'm like at this level? And he's like, yeah, go figure, I don't know. I'm like, okay. So I, of course, took pictures, and in some of my pictures, you can see not the soldier that, is some apparition, but the entire attic reflected behind you. And all of the actors or storytellers at the Farnsworth house all dress up in character. Mm-hmm. And so they dress up as soldiers. The men all dress up as soldiers. The women, they dress up as women in mourning. But that is probably, to me,
possible.
Mm-hmm.
They're taking a picture. Now, I haven't seen all the pictures that they have said that these are the soldier. But if I can see the reflection of the whole room, including my soldier guy, what's to say that all those other ones aren't really just a reflection of their guide?
Yeah. So
that's my debunk report for the Farnsworth house.
Was he holding a McDonald's cup?
He was not.
Well, that's our trip to Gettysburg. You guys have anything else you want to add? I know I put this together with basically today. Did I miss anything?
I think it was a great trip. I think that we had an opportunity to test some theories. We validated some claims. We disproved some others. It was, from the paranormal standpoint, I think it was a great trip. From a personal standpoint, to be able to just be a part of such a historically important site was amazing. And then to be able to spend a week with friends, you know, camping out and enjoying some bonding and some fellowship. And
no tents this time. I was in a building.
Yes. You know, and so the wetter it got, the drier we stayed, you know.
Yeah.
But it was...
And the food was awesome.
Yes.
And we just
Awesome food.
had a great time.
Yeah. So do we have any questions over there?
We had one that I know of from earlier, and they wanted to know what the best type of digital recorder there was. What's the best digital recorder they can get? They're going to head to Gettysburg soon, so they want to get the best stuff they can get.
Yes.
All right.
Brand wise? Is that what they were asking? What brand?
That was it. What kind of digital recorder should I get?
You're going to get different answers from everybody every time.
I'll tell you what, here's the best, okay? Because we have recorders that range from high-end, you know, could hear a
several $100 versions
fart to recorders that listen real time to recorders that you can put in your pocket.
Right.
Now, if you're going to Gettysburg, I highly recommend a recorder that you can put in your pocket, something small, because you're going to be doing a lot of walking, a lot of traveling. You're carrying your camera with you, all that other stuff. And actually, I picked up a recorder, another one before we left that was smaller instead, because I normally carry a big, heavy duty one, and it's an Olympus. I think Mike and we have Olympus too. Mary Ann carries a Sony. But make sure, this is the mistake that I made.
Yes.
Make sure that you're able to hook that recorder up to the computer. Okay, if you go to Walmart and you buy their low-end recorder, Olympus recorder, that's what I did, because I have other recorders. I didn't want to spend a lot of money. I just wanted something small I could put in my pocket. I didn't look at the packaging or anything because it just made sense. Everything's digital. You should be able to hook it up to your computer. I recorded 30-plus EVP sessions.
37 sessions.
Yeah, and you can't hook that recorder up to the computer. So I had to take and dump them to another recorder, which took real time, all that recording. And it would, if I would have spent $10 more and read the packaging, I wouldn't have that problem. So
yep, get
small, able to hook to the computer. Brand Olympus is good. Sony's good. You know, get a name brand computer, or not computer, name brand recorder.
Yeah.
They do have off brands. I haven't tried them, so I can't recommend or not recommend them. But
if you get a Sony or an Olympus, you're going to be good.
Yeah, you're getting what you pay for. So, what was the other one? You already answered it.
The other question that came in was about the orphanage and, you know, what it was actually originally started for, and we kind of talked about that in the session where we said it was for the soldiers, you know,
I
orphans.
think it was where were the mothers.
But they also, it was a two-part question, you know, and the second part of it was where were the mothers, and a lot of times they didn't have the ability to pay to keep their children. I'm sure it wrenched their souls. I mean, they lost their spouse, now they're losing their kid. But at least there was some
remember
place
too, this
for
was
them.
in 1863, so back then there were not a lot of. Now, don't get crazy, but this is reality. There were not a lot of women landowners. They were, you know, the men owned the land. They owned the homestead. They owned the property, And when these soldiers went off to war, they may not have had a will that, you know, it went to the female if something happened. So they may have lost their homes.
Right.
Had no place to live. Couldn't
and a
take
lot
care
of
the
times
kids,
that if
kind
they
of thing.
couldn't find a new husband to take them in.
Right.
You know, and it was only a small village of what, 2,500 people back in, you know, and the farm's destroyed, the crops are gone, the animals
Well, look
are
at
gone.
the story of the cemetery. I mean, she was homeless basically, but still had to perform
She
the job.
still had walls.
Walls, but no food or belongings. You know, in that one picture, they had to almost rebuild the arch. So,
I have a couple things to add. When you asked about how everybody enjoyed the trip,
Okay.
Laura said she had a great time with each and every one. I had to go. I'm glad I got to go with all you. You are such great friends and made a lot of new family members. Now they are my Boo family.
Aw, the Boo family.
That's us, the Boo family.
Andrea, I'm very thankful we got the chance to go together as a group. Despite the hiccup at the beginning, we had a wonderful time. And the experience was like no other with friends who are more like family, but better.
awesome,
Yes.
awesome. So, okay, Laura and Andrea didn't have questions, so we have to weed them out.
Right?
Those other two questions, that was from the same person. I
It
would
was.
assume?
Yes.
Who was
Karen C.
Karen C.
So,
Okay.
our winner.
So Karen C., you're the winner of our T-shirt.
Yay!
Yeah.
Congratulations!
So here's what I need you to do, Karen. I hope you pop back on and see this. I think you said that you were fans on Facebook.
Mhm.
What I want you to do, so I know I have the right person, I want you to send an email to info, I-N-F-O, at darkshadowghosttours.com. Okay? That's the domain name, Dark Shadow Ghost Tours. Just put info at on the front of it. Send an email with your address and your shirt size, and when we get these shirts in production, which hopefully will be shortly, we're going to send you one. And
All right.
thank you for asking your question.
Yeah, they
Yes.
were great questions, by the way.
Yes.
I know we drew this out a long time, but you know what? I feel personally that you need to know the history of these locations before you go into them. A lot of people like to go in blind. That's okay. But it's also cool to have this platform to put stuff out there for the younger generation so they know what's out there and kind of, you know, like we talked about Sachs Bridge. You know, those kids that were out there probably don't know the history of it. And I can make those statements because I work in education and I see what's going on. And it's very important that the youth coming up knows the history of this nation and why we need to be proud of it.
Mm-hmm.
So, you guys have any closing remarks?
And it was a 5-day investigation.
Absolutely. And then we came back and did another investigation.
Yes.
We're not going to stop.
No.
We're going to keep going. In 2 weeks, you can join us actually for another episode of After Tour where we're going to do a wrap up of the old Stagecoach Inn. If you guys joined us on that virtual ghost hunt, hopefully
Monday
by then
night.
we're going to have some evidence that we could talk about, and we'll talk about our investigation we had there last Monday night. It's still out there. You can
Right.
still take part in it. Watch the DVRs. If you see anything, leave a comment on our YouTube channel. I know the chat will be shut off. And the same with this one. If you have any comments, please leave them. We love to hear the feedback. Now, also, if you would like to see a topic for us to talk about, we're going to start slowing down. We're not done for the summer. We got to find some place to go investigate. But we're going to start coming into
Dinner season.
our Halloween party, bash, whatever we're going to do. But investigating as it starts to get, it's inevitable. It's going to start getting cold. I think I saw a post on Facebook, 16 weeks. Was
Yeah.
that you who posted it?
No, it
Yeah.
wasn't
Yeah.
me.
No, it's Mike.
Oh.
Yeah.
We're fair weathered investigators.
Yeah.
We
did
went out last November, and
Not
let me
again.
tell you, it was freezing. I was so cold. It was the weekend of Thanksgiving. It was just unbearably cold. I could not stand it. I was excited to go home that night. And
Yeah,
I
it was
usually am raring to go in an investigation because I want to find that evidence. That's what I want. I want
It's
the hard
so
evidence.
hard during the winter because we're all just chomping at the bit to get out to do something. But that was cold.
It
That
was cold.
we won't do that again. We'll just sit here and do more shows.
And they'll tell us where we can go or
Absolutely.
what we can talk about.
Absolutely. So please leave us your comments. Give us your feedback. Join us on the next episode of Dark Shadow Ghost Tours After Tour, where we're talking about the old Stagecoach Inn.
Right.
Right.
On to more adventures. Thanks for joining us.
All right. Thanks.
see you
See you
next
next
time.
time.
Happy hunting.